Woohoo! Says I'm live. What's up, y'all? Okay, I think we're live. What do you think, Lucas? Can you see? We cooking with peanut oil, or we're just like... Carl Vet? Oh, the Siberian elm. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I remember now. Sorry, y'all. It's been a crazy week. We are getting going with this here live stream, y'all. We'll make another one. Wait for some people to join us. Oh, come on. Stream here. Uh-huh. Yep. Huh? I don't see that at all. What is it? Yeah, can you not see it? Oh, we got somebody watching. What's up, somebody? Trying to... Are you actually looking at the okay, yeah. So you've probably got a better view. Oh, we lost our first person. That's okay. We're gonna talk about these trees anyways, whether y'all like it or not, and are listening or not. It's just what I do for y'all. No, I got you in my earbud. Hello. It should be streaming live, right? Oh, you got to share it from the Arborist On Demand page. Ruh-roh. We got to share it from the Arborist On Demand page, y'all. I'm not doing my job very well. Oh, have you not shared it to... Oh, y'all, so sorry. We are about to share this to our group. I thought we'd shared it to our group, but we are not sharing it to our group yet. You're sharing it? Okay, Luke is going to share it. I got it too right in front of me if you want me to hit the button. What's up? One second. Where's my chat GPTs? Where are you at, robots? Did I get rid of that page? Yeah, I guess I did. Okay. Yeah, just why don't you share it? Because you got the admin controls. Right? Believe me, I understand. You got it? All right, I'm going to share it now. I just did a different post just for fun. Okay, guys. So we are, I think we're live. I think we're sharing to our Ask an Arborist group. I hear my voice in my ear. So that means we're live, I think. So that's cool. You're good, man. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining me. This is our second episode, if you will, of I don't know, Ask an Arborist live Q&A. I don't know what we're gonna call this. Y'all think of something, drop a comment down below. That's gonna be, we're gonna figure this out. We gotta maybe come up with something because we're getting like, I think last week we had 138 people join this group. And y'all, I don't even know what to do with that bit of information. That is too fast a growth, and it's going to get scary really fast. So Lucas and I are working out some bugs and working on some ideas. You can see here, I just keep scrolling. I have not touched these. I have not looked at these, but I promise you we're going to get to them all tonight and at least give you a rudimentary answer at worst. And so anyways, we've got, this goes back to April 26th. I think that's a little too late. Y'all give me some feedback. Are y'all seeing the tree talk? Ooh, I like that, Jay. That's pretty good. Tree talk. I had a thing I did years ago is tree chatter, and it's like a T and a CH. It kind of makes sense, but yeah, I like tree talk. That's kind of fun. Y'all, by the way, I'm gonna be hitting the mute button here and there. I got like this crazy cough going on, so I'm so sorry in advance, but I'm just trying to like live and breathe and stuff. And I don't want y'all up to hear me do that. So 1 second here. All right. Now we're good. Sorry. Okay. I remember this tree from Kelsey Mahone. I don't remember this one from Christina Dooley. Do you remember that one, Lucas? I think it's after that or before that, actually, because there's no, because well, I did them out of order. Oh, sorry, y'all. I'm talking to Lucas too at the same time. He's like keeping me organized here. Okay, so this is, I think it's Emery Layton would be the last one. Let's see what my calendar says. Yeah, so that would be like Saturday of last week. So I answered a couple of them. I'm going to go with Emery Layton. I'm so sorry if I missed you guys, but I think this is probably a pretty good place to start. So Emery is out of nowhere. She's followed by 50 people. Sorry. All right, so let's take a look at Emery's tree. She says, please help, please. My elm tree has this weird slime oozing out of it. Is it slime flux, and what can be done to cure it? Yeah, I think that is slime flux, and I'm gonna. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of assuming much, but like every American elm I've ever dealt with, any mature American elm, I should say. Some of the younger ones are okay, but most of them deal with this. They don't seem to be great at dealing with slime flux. And so the bacterial infection is what slime flux is. It's really not that big a deal as long as your tree is still able to function, which the main thing is keep it healthy, keep the soil healthy and aerated, and make sure it's getting enough water, but not so much that you're promoting some of that oversaturated conditions. And I'll post a link up later on. We did a live stream on a group called Arborist Institute today, and thank you, Steven. Shout out to you for letting me do that. And we talked about how to keep trees healthy, and it was kind of a holistic approach to tree care. And most of it you guys can do right at home. It's kind of the difference between going to the doctor where you've got allopathy. They basically prescribe you medication to cover up or cure the symptoms, as opposed to The cure would be more of keeping your body healthy, eating good, healthy things, and just making sure that your body is functioning on a high level. That takes nutrients, that takes oxygen, that takes keeping the toxins out. Trees are no different. I think God was using copy and paste at creation, and so they have a lot of the same functions, and they're really fascinating. And that's really what hooked me and kept me in this industry, learning this stuff. Because I'll tell you, if I had to do it over again, I might go into real estate or something. This is a hard industry to be in, but very rewarding. I don't regret any of it. But, it's just something to consider is when you keep the tree healthy, then it's going to stay healthy and be able to manage itself for the most part. There's always exceptions, of course, but as a general rule, that really is going to make a difference if you just keep it healthy. So, all right. I don't know why Facebook is still terrible. I got off years ago, y'all, and I swore I'd never look back, but here we are talking, and this is pretty fun. So I'm glad y'all are here with me. Glad we're doing this. I'm just change some things up a little. Okay. Lucas is telling me I'm gonna fix some things here. Group rules, group settings. Here we go. Okay. All right, y'all. So we're thanks for being patient with me. We're gonna fix these settings. That's it. Sort posts. It already says. Oh, it should be. I gave it to you before I left. Sorry. Okay, new post. Awesome. We fixed it. Thank you. Thank you, Lucas. This guy, by the way, he's incredible at Lucas, by the way, just so y'all know, he is a wizard when it comes to marketing and such. So if you need a good marketing guy, Lucas he contracts with me. So he's not mine. Y'all feel free to hire him. He's just amazing when it comes to keeping all this stuff organized. And thank God for that, because I'm just not, y'all. I'm a very unorganized person, but I'm pretty good at trees. So hopefully I can help you guys out. Okay, where were we? Haven't looked at that. Haven't looked at this magnolia. Got an elm tree there, sapling. Okay. All right. So we talked about slime flux. Hopefully that helps, Emery. And then let's go to Chip Turpin. Well, we were hit by Hurricane Helene and lost our 4 huge oaks. He lives in North Carolina. Y'all, we were praying for you guys. That was a messy hurricane. Very messy hurricane. So once this huge oak tree survived, so we thought once the leaves came out, I think it weighted it enough as it had to lean to it anyways. Unbalanced from being next to another tree. Anyway, it came down last week and crushed my ornamental cherry tree. I'm trying to save the cherry tree. I need help as to how to prune it and where. This is how it used to look and where I am at now. Let me see if I could put this in a different one. I'm getting sick and tired of it resetting on me. Can y'all see that picture? Well, that's annoying. Okay, so if I click out, then it's going to do that on me, and y'all can't see this picture. Okay, well, that's okay. I can see it a little bit and maybe help guide you along. Okay, so we've got a beautiful cherry tree. Looks like the oak tree next to it. Where? Maybe next to the house? Oh, goodness. Oh, y'all, that's so sad. Okay, I'm going to have to blow this up on the actual... You know what? Hold on. Let me see if I can change this. Nope. I need to put a different one on here. Okay, let's stop the screen, and I'm going to just resubmit that to... Oh, goodness. No, I don't even know. All right, I think I can close this one. I told y'all I was disorganized or something, didn't I? Hope you don't mind, but we'll get this worked out. All right. Nope, that's the wrong one. Not that one. Sorry, I lied. Present, share screen, and no, not that one either. Okay, here we go. Y'all need to see what I'm seeing. Okay, so beautiful cherry tree. Look at this, y'all. Look at those gorgeous blooms. Cherry trees are such cool. Okay, now look at it, y'all. Do you see how technologically advanced I am? This is why I stick to the trees, y'all. If I had my choice, I'd be out in the forest. All right, so you can see here this absolutely gorgeous cherry blossom tree, some sort of cherry tree, I'm not sure. And poor tree got smushed by this other big tree, maybe a cottonwood, tulip tree, red oak, I think. Okay. And you can see here is that same cherry tree. So it just got shredded. And man, I'm really sorry to see that happen, Chip. What a mess. I don't think it's dead, but I think you got a long uphill battle. The thing is, all of those leaves, the tree had put out and expended a lot of energy getting new leaves onto the cherry tree. And so with those leaves gone, it's kind of like buying a car. Is it lost 20% right off the bat, right? As soon as it drove away from the parking lot, it lost all of those resources that it's spent all this time building up last year and storing those resources. And it was getting ready. It was all gung-ho. Go get them, kiddo. Put the leaves out, and then the stupid red oak fell on it and just smushed it all to smithereens. And man, it's like insult to injury. You lost your red oak. Now your cherry's all smushed up too. So can it be saved? Well, it actually looked to be in pretty healthy condition prior to breaking. You do have a little bit on the very upper canopy. You can see my mouse here. Just a wee little tiny bit of dieback. And I could tell that the tree's kind of been struggling to pull nutrients up to the upper canopy. But that could be species specific too. That could be just the way the tree grows. And so I'm not going to condemn that. I'm not going to say that's like a deal breaker and it's really too stressed to really revive. What I am going to say is it's got all of its roots still, which is a great thing because it can use those resources to pull extra resources out of the soil. The key is you're going to have to give it extra resources. So I would recommend putting a ton of humic acid, a ton of molasses, a ton of rock phosphates are actually going to help to restore a lot of the woody tissue, and a ton of seaweed extract actually, and fish emulsion. That'll help keep up a lot of the hormones and the amino acids that the tree needs to reproduce all of that. And the sugar in the molasses, there's if you get a really high quality cooking molasses, it's going to contain approximately 100 to 120 different sugars. And we just talked about this in the Arborist Institute chat we were teaching some arborists about trees earlier today. And I'll be posting that video, or at least portions of it, little snippets here and there throughout on the Ask an Arborist page and on our YouTube channel at Arborist On Demand. So go follow us over there if you haven't yet. But essentially the leaves produce photosynthates, and essentially what those are carbohydrates and sugars, glucose specifically. And glucose, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, C6H12O6. That's the simplest form of sugar there is. And well, correct me if I'm wrong here, please, all you scientific guys, but essentially that tree is made of carbon, 45%, hydrogen, 2 to 6%, and oxygen, about 45 to 50% as well. So all of those leaves now being gone is going to really hurt and stress the tree out. So we got to get that tree to resprout. I would not do any more pruning than what has been done by the falling red oak. I would leave it as natural as possible. Just let the tree do its thing, produce as many leaves as it can, and we can manage some of those stubs and broken limbs later. But for right now, we need to get a ton of leaves on the tree. Fortunately, you got a lot of resources in the roots, probably, if it was doing okay like it looked like it, and you should be okay. So just keep up do that maybe like once a month, even for the next year to 2 years. And, if you need help, we can always get on a Zoom chat and do a digital consult as well. We're moving on. All right, let me close this one out. I got to kind of organize this and maybe figure out a better way to do so. But this is, oops, hold on. Present, share file, share page. Here we go. What's up, Stephanie Crockmore from Austin, Texas? Fellow Texanite, you Austinians, you crazy. Weird. It's weird, right? Keep Austin weird, I think. So she said, red oak sapling, does this trunk look normal to you? Want to plant in a few days, but now I'm worried. Well, hopefully we're not too late. It's 5 days after. Yeah, it looks okay. I can't see a lot. I really wish I could see maybe more towards the bottom of the trunk to see. It looks like the root flares are buried, and you want it to flare out, Stephanie. That's going to be really important. I would also take all this stupid green tape that actually does not help to support the tree at all. That stick is it's just a flimsy little bamboo piece of junk. Get rid of it. It's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad stuff. If y'all remember the book as kids. But essentially, that's going to, like, as the trunk grows in diameter, that's going to compress against that, and it can cut off the circulation. So the bark looks okay. It looks like maybe there's some fungal pathogens, but it could also just be the tree's just growing really rapidly. And at the nursery, they're always trying to get it to grow rapidly. So they're not looking out for your best interest. They're looking to make a bigger tree so they can sell it faster. And unfortunately, they bypass a lot of the industry standards that they have, which is, what is that, Z? I was just playing with this one. ANSI Z60.1. Latest update is 2014. So that is the standards for nursery stock, and I've yet to see a company that does it. It's unfortunate. Tree guys are no better, by the way. But Stephanie, you do have this one little green strap, especially. It looks like it's actually compressing into the trunk. So you want to make sure to get that off ASAP and expose those root flares. Make sure when you dig the planting site, you go 2 to 3 times the diameter of the container that I'm seeing it's grown in. So hope that helps. Let me know if you have any other questions. And we're moving on. I'm going to close this. Okay, this is from anonymous participant. Thanks so much for sending this in. This is a cool tree. Okay, so anonymous participant says, what did they say? They said, need help, please. River birch tree in backyard getting overgrown and want to trim. Started off as a single trunk, but as you go up, it started to sprout these really thick branches. I'm assuming you are in reference to these little sprouts just below where the permanent branches are, the permanent scaffold branches. River birches are kind of known for that, having a lot of wispy growth off the trunk. So that's, oh, what am I doing here, you guys? I'm so sorry. I wasn't even screen sharing with you. Where you at, Lucas? Oh, that's funny. He's looking at it on the same screen that I am, and we both missed. I wasn't even sharing with you guys. Okay, so he's got this river birch. Oh, you're good, Lucas. It's all good. He says, I don't want to ruin this tree more than I have, and accommodations would be greatly appreciated. Well, I will say this is, you want 2/3 of the above ground plant parts to be canopy. You want it to be leaves. That is, that's going to be really, we call it a live crown ratio. And that live crown ratio is so important for the structural integrity, as well as the photosynthate production and the carbohydrates, basically the building blocks of all that woody tissue that makes up the trunk and the branches and the roots, etc. And so I would actually leave it as much of that undergrowth as you can, because it has been raised up, let's see, about 50% here. And so being that it's raised up that much, that's going to throw off that live crown ratio. And so those new sprouts, the tree put it there, man. You got to have a better reason to take it off. What I might do is just pick the ones you want and develop them into permanent branches. And now you keep that live crown ratio, you keep that root to shoot ratio, and you're still developing on those lower branches, all of that, those good photosynthetes, that's going to be pumped into the trunk, and that's going to feed the tree. But it's really important that they stay there. So I'd leave them there. The other thing is, when you push all that growth from pruning, all the lower limbs up higher, I see this all the time on these pine trees, loblollies and the slash pines here in Houston. They just keep raising it up and up and up. And it's like, y'all, what do you think leverage does? And then we get a hurricane, like a little baby one like Beryl that we had last year, and it just wrecks so many trees. And I really think that over maintenance is the biggest problem with that. So stop maintaining your trees, y'all. Stop pruning so much. It's not necessary. But I hope that helps. Keep them there. Let them continue to produce for the tree. If they die, get rid of them. If you want to do some structural pruning, just pick maybe for now, maybe pick about 3/4 of those to leave on. Some of those you can reduce them back first and then prune them off completely later. So hope that helps. We're moving on. Give me 1 second here. Oh goodness, this is a magnolia. Okay. There we go. Yep. Thank you, Lucas. There we go. What's up, Christina Dooley? All right. So Christina's got a magnolia, and this poor magnolia, what a mess. I'm so sorry you're dealing with that. Fortunately, you do have leaves. So that's a good start. The tree needs leaves, as it turns out. It doesn't have a lot, but she's got this magnolia. She says, help, I have a magnolia tree that may be dead. But it has a few green leaves. Any ideas? Yes. Man, you've got some bugs chewing on that. You've got some discoloration, which tells me there's a hormone imbalance and a nutrient deficiency. To me, that looks like nitrogen. And yeah, poor magnolia. I'd like to know, Christina, what your watering schedule is like, because magnolias are really sensitive to drought conditions. And I don't know where you're from. It doesn't say, but we had a big drought that came through here in Houston a couple of years ago. And what we saw is the humidity get down to 12% humidity, and that's rare in Houston. So trees get used to it over years or decades, a certain environment. Then you have a big drought that just comes in and wreaks havoc. And what happens is there's openings in each leaf. There's little tiny microscopic openings, and we call them stomata or stomates. And those expire. They basically breathe out and create an off gas, essentially water vapor. And what that does is it creates a negative pressure inside of the trunk. So you've got off gassing on the leaves here that pulls that negative pressure from the soil. So here's what happens. When you get low humidity, they lock open. Now you're bleeding out all of that. The tree continues to respire all through the day. And if there's nothing in the soil to pull it up, you're not going to have nutrients. You're not going to have water coming up, and it just desiccates them. So we had these, magnolias for days that they're just brown, and it's instantaneous. I believe the term is permanent wilting. And so you don't have that, but just make sure that your tree's not getting undersaturated. You want to water a little bit, but not so much that it stays wet. I think you've got some real fungal problems going on. To me, it looks like hypoxylin maybe is on the trunk tissue here, but without a lab diagnosis, I really can't say. What I will say is you got to get some new leaves on this very quickly. And so I would hit it with a really heavy dose of molasses and humic acid. And then I would check the oxygen levels, the compaction levels in your soil. And you can take a screwdriver, jam it in the ground. And if it's like 6 to 8 inches is what you're looking for. If it's really difficult to stick in the ground beyond 6 to 8 inch or through that 6 to 8 inch region, then you've probably got a really compacted soil. And I'm going to do a video on vertical mulching here soon, but I just put a video out there. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I'll drop it in the comments. Studio.youtube.channel. Okay. Okay, here we go. Published videos. I'll give you all a link right here. So this was all about radial trenching, which is another technique to get oxygen very quickly down to the soil. I think you've got an oxygen / gas deficiency. I think that has greatly negatively impacted the microbes, which are going to pull nitrogen out of the air, convert it to a form the tree can take up. That's going to feed it. So that yellowing discoloration is chlorosis. The bug marks here are obviously critters chewing on it because you got a weak tree. And I definitely see some kind of, just going to call it messed up bark. That tells me there's probably some fungal pathogens going on here. Don't water the upper canopy. That may be tempting. Water right all the way around, anywhere you can in your backyard, it looks like. And let's say our prayers on this one, maybe front yard. And just hit it with a lot of molasses, a lot of humic acid, and see if you can get some more oxygen down with radial trenching and vertical mulching. And we're moving on. Okay, we got Kelsey Mahoney has a, what's that, a weeping cherry. That's a beautiful tree. Little baby tree. Snow fountain weeping cherry. So let me get that up for you guys. Here we go. Here it is. All right. This is Kelsey's weeping cherry. Kelsey says, what does she say? My snow fountain weeping cherry has been planted here for 3 years. What's that, Lucas? Okay. Last year, a male deer scraped it, and it has been thriving, but the wounds look so much worse this spring. However, it bloomed well and looks great now, minus this. It is hardened sap and liquid sap. I know I should have probably dealt with this sooner, but it's facing away from the house. I forget about I saw today and want to do what I need to do to help. That is, you're not alone. And it really, I hate suburbia. I hate the lives that we live. I think my parents' generation knew their neighbors and they were friends with their neighbors. We all went outside, talked together. When something happened, everybody band together and all that. Once a week. How often do I suggest molasses? Sorry, I'm bunny trailing here. Molasses in those circumstances once a week. More, yeah, I do. Molasses is really, really great stuff. It's not the end all be all. There's so much more to tree care than just sugar and humates, but those things are a really good foundation. If you want to just do one thing that's going to upgrade the overall health and vitality of your trees, is molasses and humic acid. Those are great. I learned that from a friend of mine, and it's really great. So you can't really go wrong. You can't really damage it. And so just keep that up. And like I said, if there's anything that you do, it would be just give it extra resources. The leaves are going to create sugars, and the humic acid, humates or humus is, think of compost is broken down organic matter. Humates it's broken down again. So it's like composted compost. It's like super concentrated compost. So what you're doing is you're feeding a lot of the beneficial microbes and creating a living habitat for them to reside on. Again, hey, pay attention, Lucas. I just answered that. You're good. We're all multitasking like crazy here, y'all. So sorry if we get a little bunny trailed and have a little side chatter in my ear. But okay, so she had a buck come over in her yard, and that jerk decided he was going to rub his antlers all over her tree, scrape up the bark. Here's what I'll say about this, Kelsey, is you've got, where are we? You've got some bleeding wounds from that. That's pretty normal. That's actually part of the tree's defense mechanism. So that sap is going to push out and block critters from getting in, let's call it. And so that's a good thing. The other thing I'll say is you've got really, really good wound closure tissue. And I think you said that was last year. Last year, a male deer scraped it and has been thriving, but the wound looks so much worse this spring. Yeah, but I am seeing some really good wound closure tissue. You do have the bleeding wound here that's producing all that sap that's pushing out. That's part of the defense mechanism. So what you want to do is just really work hard to give it the resources it needs. Make sure your soil's not compacted. I'm going to go back to JK's comment and say, yeah, humic acid and molasses I think will really help here, because all of those extra sugars are, again, they're building blocks. It's sugar. It's real simple. Is that sugar is going to be able to be used by the tree and rebuild a lot of that tissue. So keep an eye on it. If it starts to look worse, or starts to croak on you, feel free to reach out. We can do some emergency things. But I would maybe pull a soil sample, make sure all the resources that the tree needs are in there, and expose the root flares a little bit. That's going to be really, really important, Kelsey. Make sure there's no roots that are coming across the trunk, the base of it there, and constricting that tissue. So if you do see any little roots that come across, you said it's been planted there for 3 years, so I'm assuming they probably did it wrong because they're nursery guys. Sorry. I wish y'all would do it right so I wouldn't have to harp on you. Hope that helps, Kelsey. And like I said, hit us up on the web at arboristondemand.com if you need a more close look at that. So we're moving on. This is really fun for me, you guys, by the way. I actually just got back on radio for KTRH here in Houston, and I did that from like 2014, I want to say, through 17, maybe 18, 15 through 18. It was like 3 years, and I loved it because I got 30 seconds to answer the question, and I don't have enough information to be able to answer the question. So it's like rapid fire, stump the arborist kind of thing. So I really enjoy this stuff, and I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to do this. So looks like Amy Myers, we don't know where she's from, this is a slight sunken in reddish spot about 4 inches wide on a very large Hong Kong orchid. I don't know that tree, actually. What could it be? Oh, that looks like mechanical damage, actually. Let's see. Oh, yeah, there you are. Okay. Yeah, that looks like mechanical damage to me. It looks like something came in and damaged it, and then now you're seeing the kind of the bleeding wound. But my question is, what could it be? And if it's not mechanical damage, if nothing could have gotten in the backyard and done that, what's going on there? So it does look kind of discolored underneath where that wound is. And so that kind of tells me, maybe there's some fungal stuff going on, but that could be just kind of the leaking wound here discoloring it as well. But I would maybe take a sample of that and send it off to your local agriculture extension. And I'm going to drop a link to that here in the video and on your post. There we go. Wait, did that do it? There we are. Cool. Technology is actually working this time, y'all. This is pretty fun. So honestly, I wish I could help you a little bit further, but I might check that for some sort of pathogen and give them a call. Find that. You've got the link there, Amy. Go on there, find wherever you're from, find your agriculture extension, and go ahead and give them a call and send that off to them, see what's going on there. And if you get great results or any results, feel free to send them my way, and we'll go through it together. Ooh, this is fun. We're going to get rid of this one. Bye, Amy. And we're going to present, what is this? Not that one. Ooh, this is going to be fun, y'all. This is a eucalyptus tree. Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm sorry. I have to, because whenever I click on a link, it sends, and then I go back into the page, into the Facebook group, it jumps me all the way up to the top again. And that's just not cool, y'all. It's just so not cool. I wish Facebook would get it together, but they do run the world after all. They get to do whatever they want and get away with it. So here we go. We got Sean Waters. What's up, Sean? He says, good morning. This is on May 11th. We have a eucalyptus, I think is what he meant, tree here in North Carolina. Y'all, that's not native to North Carolina. That is an Australia, New Zealand only kind of tree. It's stuck there on that big old island they have. But oh, you got another picture in the comments too. We'll get to that here in just a second. He says, but it seems to be possibly dying. Well, it's really out of place. I can believe that. It's been dry here, and there was a small stalk of the tree that I cut back a few months ago that was going into the deck. Any ideas if it's normal for it to do this? We have only had the house 2 years, so it could be normal, but unsure. Leaves and branches are going to die on trees, y'all. And that's pretty normal. However, you've got a tree that is really, really, really out of place. And I'm going to be really honest. I don't know eucalyptus that well. That's okay because trees pretty much are the same. However, sometimes knowing those little differences is going to make a real difference in whether or not the tree makes it or not. So I'm going to just do a little bit of research here. Eucalyptus tree needs. The eucalyptus tree, Australia's most fragrant export and a koala favorite hangout. So they're going to need 6+ hours of sunlight a day. I got ChatGPT giving me stupid robot jokes. It says, eucalyptus trees are sun worshippers. Shade equals sluggish growth and potential disease issues. Y'all, this is really creepy. These robots are getting to know us a little too well. So one of these days, you're going to see me disappear just because they're after me or something. Not to sound like a nut job conspiracy theorist, but I am. Young trees water regularly, deep watering until established, usually 1 to 2 years. Mature trees are drought tolerant once established, but may benefit from supplemental watering during extreme heat and drought. Poor drainage or overwatering. That's probably going to be your bingo right there. That is, you probably got, in North Carolina, I know y'all get wet a lot of the time. It looks like you've got a boat parked right under the root system too. But do me a favor, send me some more pictures of like trunk tissue. Check it out and see if you see any sort of discoloration on the trunk or any exit wounds, like little holes in the trunk. Or go back on this video and see some of the stuff we're looking at. You'll be able to tell if there's any discoloration or damage. You can also take I don't have it with me, a little hammer, and you can make sure it's like a rubber hammer. Don't use a metal because you'll damage the tissue. But just kind of sound around on the wood towards the base of the tree. See if there's any kind of hollowish sounding spots, and let me know. But yeah, you definitely got some compaction back here with the vehicles driving over. Try to stay away from that if you can. I know you got your boat there and you got to go play and all that. I get it. Oh, I didn't see the picture of the comments. Hold on. Okay, so... Ooh, okay. Yeah. There we go. Oh, so that's super close to the deck. That's not the house, Lucas. I think that's the deck. Yeah, so you got a lot of rocks there. I just did a video not too long ago about why rocks are bad for trees. So you've probably got them overheating. You've probably got them damaging the roots a little bit as they move around in the soil, because that happens naturally. They can actually cut the roots in the trunk flare. It looks like you got a brick growing right up to it. Man, I wish this was a little easier to screen share that. Okay, so I'm going to close this out. Thank you for commenting. What's up? Yeah, that actually worked. And I think I've been pressing the backspace. So I'm going to try this. Okay, we're on Eric Michael's tree. Yeah. All right, here we are. So Eric's asking me, my ash tree sprouted leaves late this year. We thought it might not have survived the winter. We were relieved to see it sprout leaves, but it's struggling. Many branches appear to be dead, and those that are alive, the leaves are turning into pods with grubs in them. Gross. I'm curious if I can rehabilitate the tree or not. Oh, that's so disgusting. Yeah, you've got a really stressed out tree there, Eric. I'm sorry to hear that. See that. Okay, so this is an ash tree. Now, here's the thing y'all need to know about ash trees. There's a little bug called emerald ash borer that is absolutely wreaking havoc in all the trees in North America. The story goes they came in here on shipping containers from China, along with all the other Amazon products, and they essentially there wasn't a lot of research in China because emerald ash borer is it's been there forever. The ash trees got used to it, just like humans. Trees have immune systems, so they will produce over time, if given the opportunity, basically these chemicals that are pesticides. They're going to kill the bugs as they chew on the tree. And so they, in China, they didn't have a lot of research on it because it's not a big deal. Well, fast forward to 2002, and I think it was Milwaukee, They come over on shipping containers. And the ash trees here in America, I've never seen this little tiny green. It's actually really a beautiful little bug. They've never seen it. And so they don't have the illegal chemicals. So think of it like our antibodies, if you will. They don't have those to be able to kill the bugs as they come in. So emerald ash borer comes in, they have zero competition. They have zero pests that are trying to kill them, i.e. the trees. And the birds don't know what they are, so they don't eat them as much. And now they're just wiping out trees by the millions. By the way, ash trees are a dying breed, but they will make a return because there's about, I think it's like 0.01% of the ash trees are becoming chemically resistant to emerald ash borer. So there is hope. If you do want to keep your ash tree, you pretty much have to treat it preventatively. So check to see, Eric, if there is if emerald ash borer is in your area. The grubs that are in there are not emerald ash borer. Emerald ash borer, they lay their eggs in the bark, and then the young grow up, and they've got these crazy tunnels. Actually, let me see if I can pull up a photo real quick. How are we looking on time, Lucas? Not good, right? We're looking pretty bad on time. It's okay. We'll figure this out. If we need to keep going a little bit extra, I'm good with that. My wife, I'm not sure. We'll see, but I think it's going to be important to get through a good portion of these, and then maybe we'll go through and look at some other ones later on, maybe earlier next week. I really want to get through all of these with you guys, and because I know this is important to you. These are your trees. These are your green pets. And man, if we can get through them all, let's do it, y'all. Now I can't find my PCMA profile. Okay, so I'm gonna share this one with you guys. This is crazy. Where are you? Albums. Nope, not that one. This one. Oh my goodness. This right here. This is emerald ash borer in New Jersey. I don't know if y'all could see it real well, but that is. What's that? You good? Yeah, there's a slight delay, so you may be seeing it a little bit later than I am. Lucas is a trooper. He's keeping up. This is chaos up in my world right now. So this is an ash tree in New Jersey. You can see my really cool clogger pants there, and somebody's jeans. I don't know why you wear jeans to climb trees. They're not comfortable and they're hot. They don't breathe. And I'm really grateful for a lot of the technologies that have come out. Also, don't use them in fire because they melt to you. There's a little green emerald ash borer. You can see his booty sticking up in the air, or her, I don't know. And basically, she's tunneling in there to lay her eggs. And so you can see a big egg mass here, and all those little tunnels. You can see the frass in it. And sorry, that's not an egg mass. That's frass. So basically, that's like bug excrement, the sawdust that the bugs chew. They leave it there, and that's one sign you can look for, Eric. Is maybe try to see if there's any frass there. And if there is, you know you've got some beetles. But inside of the leaves, I'm not sure exactly what that is. But it would definitely be good to get like a local arborist to come in and and treat it for emerald ash borer, because you know what's going to happen. Check on a map. Make sure to check with your agriculture extension. I dropped that link earlier on the Facebook Arborist On Demand page. Oh, Lucas, can you? Yeah, it popped up on YouTube, but Lucas, do you mind sharing that same link for the agriculture extensions? Actually, here, I got it. Lucas is saying it showed up on the... That's on the page of the group. Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, if it's there, we're good. I'll go ahead and post it again just for kicks and giggles. I'll just drop it right here on my buddy Eric and his poor tree. All right, so let's move on here. Present. This is, I got to click a bunch of times to make this work, but we're getting it done. This is good. Okay, and click the magic button. We're live again. What's up, y'all? All right, so Allison Ryan Para, sorry if I'm butchering your name, don't know where you're from. Squirrels have stripped our mulberry tree to the point where there are almost no leaves in spring. Has this happened to anyone else? What can we do to help this tree survive until next year? It's well established and probably 30 to 35 foot tall. That is a mulberry tree. Ooh, mulberries. What's up, Lucas? I lost Lucas for a minute, yo. All right, so we're looking at this mulberry tree, and wow, actually, Daryl, I think you're right. I would be concerned about placement too. We moved in 10 months ago. She says last June it was full and gave us lots of shade. I know they could be very large trees, and we did have it pruned last fall. Actually, pruning sometimes will make it bigger. I know that's counterintuitive, but there's a hormone thing that happens where when you prune, especially those lower limbs, it's going to cause it to grow up. Anytime I make a pruning wound on a tree, that's going to stimulate growth elsewhere on the tree. And so leaves being gone, that's usually not a really big deal. I'm surprised the squirrels did that. That is so rude of them. And squirrels are like, I don't know, I call them the rats of the trees. They're so damaging. They're like right behind what's the little critter with the beavers. They do slightly less damage to trees than beavers do, and that's saying a lot. They are, you'll see them especially in mulberries with, anything with like a thinner bark. They love mulberries. They seem to love like new sprouts on pecan trees and ash trees, and what they'll do, they'll shred it. They're sharpening their teeth because they're rodents. They suck like that. And so they're sharpening their teeth, and they'll use those fibers to build their nests too. So it's, it's good for them. But like, go to not my client's trees. Go in the forest. You can do that elsewhere. What I would do is just kind of try to give it more resources if you're trying to keep it alive. But I'll be honest, I'm gonna side with Daryl here. Thanks for that comment, Daryl. That I think you're right. They get big, and it might be, while it's small, a better option to just remove it and replant with something that's going to do a lot better there. Whenever you're planting trees, you really got to think in terms of decades, because, well, they last decades. Some of them last hundreds of years. And so if you don't, and you plan for short term, then you get what I call the HOA effect, where you get a requirement when the new homeowners association, that new development, first goes in. They get a bunch of master gardeners in who know a lot about plants, and that's true. Master gardener program is a phenomenal program, but they're not arborists. They're not thinking in terms of decades. They're thinking in terms of what's going to bring this beautiful treescape or landscape to our neighborhood. Get a lot of people in here to fill these homes quickly. They don't need to do that, by the way. They just, the population keeps growing, and homes are still, they're necessary. So they don't have to do that, but they'll have a requirement that states 2 trees in a front yard that's 20 feet wide, and you've got 2 trees that you can pull from, and it's usually live oak, because live oaks seem to do best. But there's some other things I got going through my head that I'm starting to think maybe not, because, well, first of all, that's monoculturing. You don't want to put the same trees there, but we see this so often where 10 years down the road, now you've got 2 trees that just don't work there anymore. So it's really good to plan this out. I think you're in a phase that where it's a tiny tree. And okay, so they moved in 10 months ago. So this is a new house to you anyways. You don't have any emotional ties to that tree, I'm sure. I would get rid of it if I were you, and that would be my recommendations if you were paying me for consultation. I'd get rid of it and replant with something that'll be a little more viable there. I don't have a lot to go off of, but maybe something that'll stay smaller. I think Daryl's right on that one. So moving on. Oh yeah, Wendell already answered yours. I hope that helped. Dory, same thing. That one was a little more in depth. Let me make sure okay. Yeah. So that one is, we got power lines back here. I do want to go over this really quick, because this is a really unique case. We have a beautiful maple tree in our front yard, but the trunk looks like this, and I'm concerned about what may be happening to it. It's the most beautiful bright red in the fall, and it's something I look forward to each year. I agree. Those red maples are gorgeous. Is there anything I can do to save this tree? What would cause it? It still get leaves all over and does not have any bare spots. So hoping it's not too far gone with the trunk looking like this. It's not. And you can see, again, we're going off of the compartmentalization tissue. This has been going on for years or decades, that wound has. And I do see what looks like a little streaking, which is usually indicative of fungal problems. But I also see this girdling root. I didn't even tell you about that when I typed all that up because I didn't notice it mostly. That girdling root is probably what began this downward spiral. Now, that's okay. And you have a wound here too. So I'm thinking maybe you've got a girdling root, you've got a limb that was cut off. Now decay enters and it starts traveling down the trunk because gravity does that, right? And so the tree is doing a marvelous job of repairing that tissue, but it's weak. Structurally, it's going to be compromised because of that. So you want to make sure that you're looking at this from a structural standpoint and a health standpoint. What I might recommend, and I'm not there, I don't see much of it. All I see is a big trunk wound. I might reduce the canopy height or at least the weight on the ends of the branches throughout the whole canopy. I might then come in and you definitely want to sever that girdling root down here. That's going to be critical. You got to get rid of that. And then what I might do is treat it with a product called paclobutrazol, and that is a tree growth regulator. And what it does is it shuts down the hormone produced in the roots that cause the canopy to grow and the branches to grow in length. So that paclobutrazol shuts it down for 3 to 5 years. Well, what does that mean? Well, all the resources the tree gets are now going to be allocated towards regrowing that tissue, sealing that wound, making the woody tissue stronger, fighting off fungus and bugs and such, and really just doing a great job of getting the tree back in good working order. So this is a great example. I'm sorry you're dealing with that, Dory, but yes, I would love to hop on a Zoom chat and do a kind of a tree risk assessment on the tree, figure out exactly where you're at and what we can do to make it stronger and keep it thriving, because you've got a relatively young maple there, and depending on where you're at, I don't know, but I know how to pronounce your name now. I don't know where you're at, but depending on where you're at, if you're down here in Houston, I'd say cut your losses. If you're up north in Jersey or Wisconsin or something where you've got great soil in 4 seasons, then I would say it's probably worth saving. That's a cool tree. So hope that helps. And moving on. Jennifer Dunn says, about my house last summer, and the sellers had done some landscaping, but then neglected the new plants. I watered this maple. No, I'm still seeing my screen, right? Okay, good. Sapling regularly when he was able to get it to leaf a little before fall. I can't talk, y'all. Sorry, or read. But this is what it looks like as of today. Some of the branches are brittle and some still seem to have life in them. But as you can see, it is not leafing out at all. And this super healthy looking sucker popped up at the base. I don't know a lot about tree care, so I am seeking help. You came to the right place. Can I save this tree? And if so, how, please? Should I leave the sucker? Yes, leave the sucker. I hate that term, by the way, sucker. You know, I hear so many tree guys, like tree cutters, you know, with their teeth missing, show up in their 1980 something Ford. I started in similar humble roots, by the way. So since I'm not knocking on you guys, I literally started my first business knocking on doors. It was awesome. I don't recommend it, but I did get a big clientele base. And when we were hungry, I just went out and knocked on doors. So I'll be honest, I would cut your losses on this one, Jennifer. It's going to be so much easier just to buy a $40 to $70 tree and put it back in. But if you do want to do that, go ahead and check out the video. Here, let me post it again for you on radial trenching. And you got to get rid of those bricks. That is going to be so important. Joe's right. Give it some root stimulant. The one I would pick is probably seaweed extract. Microlife makes a really great product called Ocean Harvest. And reach out to me. I can hook you up with some of that. Or you can go on their website at microlifefertilizers.com and find a local distributor. You can find it on Amazon and eBay as well. So let me know if I can help with that. Hope that helps. But I'll be honest, to me, it's not. It's such a young tree. Not worth it. I think they messed it up when they planted it. It has nothing to do with you. And so, yeah, and Lucas made a good point, is all those rocks that's going to trap moisture in those paver stones. That's not ideal. So yeah, you actually want the soil to dry out. I think that may be a part of your problem is whenever they planted it, I can tell they did all sorts of wrong. And that probably means they dug the hole too shallow, too narrow. And so the rule is, y'all, everybody know this. When you plant a tree, take the size of the container. Let's say it's 12 inches, double that, and then triple that. That's how wide you want to go. That's going to be so important. Otherwise, what happens, we call it the teacup effect. And if you remember back to 6th grade or 8th grade science, diffusion and osmosis, then you'll remember that basically water wants to go from high pressure to low pressure. So your existing soil is typically going to be a much higher pressure soil than the container that it came in. They want, at the nursery, they want this perfect growing condition so that the tree is going to just like explode and get really big so they can sell it for more money. And so whenever they do that, it usually, you put that nice, fluffy, healthy, delicious soil inside of your inside of that existing soil, and then the water tends to pool in there and basically just drowns the roots. So you got to get that water out of there. You got to get oxygen and air down to the soil. You also need water. So it's kind of a happy medium there. Let's see. Let's do that. I'm going to send you this one as well on the post or on the picture there, but check out that video. I go through what's called radial trenching, and I think that'll help a lot. But check it out, see what you think. If you want to save it, I think it's possible. I just don't think it's worth it for me. Humble opinion. All right, on May 12th, Laura O'Sullivan. Also don't know where you are at, Laura, but it looks like you've got, don't want to do that. I want to do this. It's like Laura's got a, what is that? Some kind of cedar, maybe? Yeah, cedar or juniper of some sort. Oh my goodness. That is like 30% of the tree. That's not ideal. Oh, maybe more. That's like half the tree almost. Wow. Laura, you got something eating that side of the tree. And I'm not sure whether it's in the roots or on the trunk. It looks like it may be coming from the roots. But okay, so here's the rule with any type of biotic creature. So you've got bugs, you've got fungus, you've got nematodes, you've got amoebas, you've got all these different bacterias and things like that that can impact the tree. 99.999% of all the critters out there in the environment are going to actually be beneficial for the environment, your tree included. And so just because you got bugs or whatever doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Anytime you see a tree and it's got just one portion of it, whether it's a branch or one half or one side, most of the time you're going to be looking at more of a biotic type condition. To me, that looks like you've got some sort of fungal pathogen that is clogging up the vascular tissue on the trunk, and that's probably going to be causing that side to die. So if you think of like a tree, you've got this pipe, and inside of it, on the edges of that pipe, it's made of millions of little tiny straws, and that straw is attached to a leaf up top and a root hair down below. That is the way oversimplified version of it. It's way more complex than that. But essentially, that's what it is. So as the leaves expire and respirate, they're giving off gases in the form of water vapor mostly. That creates a negative pressure within those straws, which pulls water up. So if anything gets in that trunk tissue and clogs it up, think of it like clogged arteries. You eat too much junk food your whole life, then you have a heart attack. And what is that? That's buildup inside of your arteries. And so trees can do the same thing, have the same thing happen to them. As that tissue, as that trunk tissue or branch tissue, if it's isolated to a single limb, gets clogged with fungal pathogens, or it gets severed by beetles. We looked at the pine bark or the emerald ash borer, the amount of damage. What that's doing is it's like taking your arteries and snipping it right around your heart. It's not good. And so if the tree can't push or pull nutrients from the soil, it just dies. And so to me, it looks like you've got some sort of pathogen. I'd be curious to see pictures of like the trunk tissue. Check it out and see if you can see any damage or discoloration on the trunk. And then shoot me over a picture of the root flares as well, and maybe the surrounding soil there. I think you've got something on that one side that's causing real trauma. Is it worth it? I really don't know. It may be too far gone. But, you know, I love taking trees from the graves and bringing them back to life. So if you want to play a little experimentation, you know, I'm happy to guide you in the right direction and see if we can get that tree to revive. I will say this, it's going to be a decade or more before is any sort of the former glory that it was. So I'm really sorry for the bad news, but it's, you know, I'd rather be honest than be popular. So moving on, we got Carvette McIver. Carvetta McIver. I'm so sorry. I'm tired, y'all. It's been a day for me. We broadcast, I think there was like 30 or 40 arborists on that Zoom chat, Lucas. Okay. So that was another hour-long seminar that we did, basically just teaching about the same stuff we're teaching you guys for free. So, glad you're with me. Help, please. Can anyone confirm if this is a camphor tree? It doesn't grow the berry seeds or have flower pods. It's so beautiful. My family would like to have this tree in their next yard since they have to sell their home and leave the tree. That's sweet. I love sentimental values that trees bring. Yeah, I mean that looks spitting image like a camphor tree. I'll tell you the best way that you can tell. Yep, bark is right on par with camphor. It looks like there's some critters chewing on it, and you can see the yellow discoloration there, and kind of some bumps and wavy leaves and all that. Camphor trees tend to have a little bit of a wavy leaf, but that seems excessive. This seems like something's chewing on it, but that is a camphor tree. The best way you can tell is, does it smell like Vicks Vapo Rub? Camphor is medicine essentially. And so it's used in a lot of decongestant type medicines and things like that. You can actually like chew on the leaves and get some of those oils right there. It's got some good medicinal value. So hope that helps, Carvetta. Oh yeah, Lucas made a good point. Yeah, you got some big boulders here. No, that's not good. And it looks like artificial turf grass, which isn't ideal either. So if you can get to a regular grass, a lot of those turf grasses, they're fine. It's just certainly not ideal because, again, you're taking a tree that's designed to be in a forest, you're putting it in this sterile environment, and you really need some good organic activity going on in the soil. Now, you can artificially recreate that for decades, and the trees can be fine. But, you know, it's not ideal. It looks like the tree's doing fine. I think you've got a little over maintenance with the pruning. Next tree, just leave it alone a little more. Or if you want to bonsai it like that, I mean, that's a cool tree. Well done, y'all. Hope that helps. Moving on. Ooh. Could someone please tell me? All right, so this is Kayla Gustino. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Kayla says, can someone please tell me what could be going on with my tree? Last year, I noticed one large branch appeared dead. I had planned on taking care of it myself, but time slipped away. Yeah, that happens to me too. Now that the leaves have come back, I can see that I have another patch that appears dead. I do love my tree, and I'm hoping that this isn't going to continue to get worse. Any advice? Well, it's good that you're doing this preemptively. I know you're thinking it's too late, but that's actually usually people wait till half the tree is dead before I get any sort of question like these things. It is quite a bit on that one side. This to me looks like an American elm, maybe. What are you? I don't know actually. The branching structure is like pure American elm. I'm struggling though. This leaf pattern threw me off. That looks like a cottonwood or a poplar of some sort, but the branching structure and the bark seems to me to be an American elm. Let me know if you know, Kayla. I'd love to know. You can always take it and do an image search on Google or Ask Robots, Chat GPT. There's a really cool app on your phone called Picture This, and that's a really great resource. You can just submit that photo. It'll try to diagnose it and figure out what tree it is. But all right, so the side that has the damage, I'm noticing, is the side that has the sidewalk or the roadway there. So you've got this roadway here that happens to be where all the damage is. So my best guess, and I don't know where you're at, Kayla, if you could tell me that'd help, but if you're up north, a lot of times you get rock salts that are designed and other chemicals that they'll put down to de-ice the roadways. That's a good thing. We need to not crash and die during the winter. And so I don't know if that's your case. I really can't tell, but if that is, well, first of all, you've got a lack of root zone there. So that's automatically going to be just kind of stress the tree out because trees need roots. So, and you've got a big tree, it's getting bigger and it's not getting smaller. And so they get to a certain point and sometimes they just can't support it. So if you live up north, my best guess would be rock salts of some sort. It could be anything though. I mean, roadways are dirty places. So I don't know, to be honest, but I do know that on that side, you've got some sort of stressor. If you could send me some more close-ups of maybe the trunk or the root flares, that would maybe be helpful, and tell me kind of like watering schedule and things like that. I just have a few more questions and kind of want to get to know what you're doing a little bit there. What's that? Are those things on the ground? Root bulges. Yes, those are root flares. When was that? 8:40. That was 4 minutes ago. So I was probably talking about Kayla's trees, right? Would that be right, Lucas? Or was I talking about? Oh, she was probably talking. I bet she's talking about. Or he. I'm sorry, JK, if I'm messing that up. Okay, yeah, those are not root bulges. Those are rocks, and they're very bad for trees. Don't put them there. Crushes the roots. As the roots grow, they can get damaged by them. So it's just not ideal. I mean, trees grow in rocky environments all the time, but it's just not ideal. But what this is very good, actually. If y'all notice, this is a perfect example. You've got a really, really good trunk structure. And that is, ooh, my wife is texting me. That's fun. Sorry, bunny trails, y'all. So a perfect tree is going to basically have that really good structure, that pyramid type structure. And so you've got a good taper here, but every tree needs to have root flares right at the base of them where it almost transitions horizontally completely. And if they don't, you know you've got a stressed tree, because that portion of the tree, all the above ground plant parts, absorb oxygen. They breathe, essentially. Excuse me. So if you've got a tree where the root flares are buried, if it looks like a telephone pole growing straight out of the ground, it is wrong, and you've got a stressed tree. Carvetta, this is a great example. I think it's your parents' house. You said they did over prune it. I got to be honest, but they kept the mulch for the most part from being piled up too much. A lot of people do those mulch volcanoes. We just did a little video on that. Friends don't let friends mulch volcano, y'all. So don't pile mulch up against the trunk. It breeds pathogens and causes all sorts of problems that you do not want. So, but those are actually rocks, I think. So it's best to get them out. Tree rings, not a fan either. Artificial turf grass, not a fan either. But as long as you're supplementing that forest-like environment, usually with biostimulant type fertilizers like humic acid, like molasses, like seaweed, like rock phosphates, like fish emulsion, et cetera, et cetera. It's bat guano, pea protein. There's so many good products out there. My favorite personally is a brand called Microlife. And as long as you're supplementing that soil and feeding the microbes and feeding the tree, they can live for a very, very long time in very unideal conditions like Carlbetta's got here. So not to knock on you too much, but it is what it is. So moving on. All right. We got Jennifer Allred Weber. So the wind snapped the top of my new tree clean off. Is it salvageable at all? Wow. That is textbook. They done messed it up at the nursery. That is, you see the bulge on both sides of that. What happened here is they probably had some sort of a string or strap or a piece of metal wrapped around that and girdled it. And so the tree tried to grow around that. So you've got this object here blocking it. Well, trees don't have the ability to heal. They don't have that to just repair that tissue and bridge a gap. Oh, man. My wife just texted me first alert 7. Y'all, tree work is dangerous, hazardous. Whenever you're hiring a professional, if it's me or somebody else, you got to make sure that they're safe. I hear so much. I got friends that are dead because of this industry, and I've had some pretty close encounters myself. But essentially what happened is the tree tried to grow around it. I've had trees with chains that they used to tie their dog to, forgot about it for 4 or 5 or 10 years, and then the tree ate it. And sometimes the tree's got enough resources to be able to grow all the way around, but most of the time that can be a deal breaker. That can actually kill your tree. Girdling roots, we talk about that. They do the same thing. Yeah. What's up, JK? Thank you. Yeah. So rocks and root flares. Root flares are awesome. You want to see those on every tree. If you don't, your tree's stressed, plain and simple. So let's go through. I know there were some comments that you had here, Jennifer. Can you take it back? Oh, that's a good question, Joe. I called the store and yes, hey, that's an honest nursery because they were the ones that messed that up. They will replace it, thank goodness. But they said, I don't need to return the tree, just show pictures. Yeah, that's fair. That's what a $50, $100 or less tree. I wouldn't want that back either. So if I plant the top part that broke off, will it grow? Joe says, I don't think so. The part in the ground might recover though. I agree, actually. But, you know, it may be worth it just to stick it in a pot and water it every day. And just see what happens. Because I mean, why not? You know, you got now you can make one tree into two. You know, so that's not a bad deal. You got two trees, and then they're going to give you another one. I might try it just for fun. Yes, Joe is right. It was or okay, she confirmed it. So Joe asks or says sadness. No, I don't think so. The part in the ground might recover though. Yeah, go ahead and hit it with that molasses and humates and see what happens. And may try to, and you want to spray it like all over that wound too, and all in the trunk tissue, Jennifer. That's going to be essentially sugar that the tree can use to make new leaves, which you can use to photosynthesize and feed itself. I can't talk, y'all. I'm getting tired. Make sure the new one is staked up. Actually, I disagree, Joe. I would not stake it up at all. You actually want them to move around in the wind. That is really important. So imagine taking a child, putting them in a wheelchair, and then when he's like 14 or 15, asking him to just like go run a marathon. You know, they've got it. The tree, as it's moving, it's building that woody tissue. And so here's the way it works. So like the wind blows, all of that energy is transferred somewhere. And essentially it's microfracturing, these little itty bitty tiny microscopic fractures. And what the tree does is it then fills in those gaps. Think of it like tree muscles. For us men with testosterone, we go to the gym and we're breaking down our muscles and our bodies fill in the gaps. And so the tree's doing the exact same thing. Every time it blows in the wind, it's making it stronger. The key is getting the roots established before the windy season and it gets blown over. Smaller trees are a little more susceptible to blowing over. Bigger trees usually have this gigantinormal root ball, like 100-gallon plus. They're not going to blow over in the wind. Let them move around and grow those roots real strong. I hope that helps. And oh yeah, the wind was insane. I mean, sometimes you just luck, you know. Just things happen. I'm not God. I don't control the weather, but he does, and sometimes he knocks over our trees. So sorry that happened, but glad the nursery's working with you. That is their fault, 100% in my book. I would chew them out. I have no problem. You know, let me know who it is. I'll call them tomorrow. Actually, I'm busy tomorrow, but hope that helps. All right, we got anonymous participant. Please, is there someone that can help her? I have a beautiful monkey tree. Ooh, what is that? Podocarpus? Is that the name? It's that's not a monkey tree. That's a monkey puzzle tree. Those are crazy. Those are crazy trees, y'all. I think they're native to Hawaii. Somebody correct me if I'm incorrect on that. Sometimes Californians will plant them. Floridians will plant them. You don't see them a lot, honestly, but they're all over Hawaii. These, the story goes, is some king back in the Middle Ages was like, that tree's so sharp it'll puzzle a monkey or something. So the name monkey puzzle tree stuck. And they're really, really cool looking trees. I dread the day when I have to climb one of those bad boys. I do not want to do that because if you look here, the tree is basically just a lot of razors. It's just a tree made of razors. So I talked to my tree buddies, and some of them are like, "Yeah, try sticking that thing through a side-loaded chipper. When you get the feed wheels rolling sideways instead of top and bottom, there we go. What'll happen is the forces as it grabs that log, it's going to whip it around like a maniac. So I just imagine sticking one of those in a certain type of chipper and just swinging these crazy daggers at you everywhere. But man, they're so cool to look at. Look at a monkey puzzle tree. I think not Podocarpus, it's something else. But anyways, they're really cool trees. Okay, so city came and cut branches last fall due to power lines in the way. Super sharp. Oh, super sharp. Yeah, I hear war stories from the field. Oh, wow. And that's in Vancouver? That's crazy. Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't. Let me just look this up real quick. Araucaria, that's right. Not only has a shot at surviving, it can thrive there with the right conditions. Hey, hardiness is 7 to 10. I really thought that was more of a tropical tree. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Y'all stumped the arborist. Way to go. I don't mind. Moisture, Vancouver's wet maritime climate suits this tree well as long as the soil drains properly. They hate wet feet. Okay, so that's where the key is you've got to make sure that this tree is not getting saturated in the soil. It says watch out for soil drainage. If you've got a clay soil, best of luck to you. I would try the radial trenching and the vertical mulching. But you've got to get some of that moisture away from it. So I know Vancouver's y'all get a lot of rain up there, depending on where you're at, especially if you're maritime area. That might be pretty detrimental. But this to me looks like there's some sort of fungal pathogen, maybe beetles as a secondary. I don't see any exit wounds, except maybe that's what these two little dots are. Let me take a closer look. Hold on, Anonymous. Can I call you that? Yeah, okay. So I think you do have some beetles in that. But I think the main... Oh, wow. I think I can see through that trunk. Okay, if I can see through that trunk, you got to get rid of that tree immediately. But look at those crazy daggers on that, y'all. It's just trees blow my mind still. 22 years doing this, and they still fascinate me. Look at that. Can y'all imagine just grabbing one branch and trying to drag it to the front yard? I don't want to partake. Do not want to partake. But man, I got to be honest. If that is a hole in that goes all the way through, you've got to get rid of that tree. I may be wrong, but that one picture, I almost think I can see like a little light showing through there, and it kind of looks similar colored to the house, but I may just be going blind. I'm not getting younger, y'all. So maybe you can answer that for me and tell me what's going on there. That could just be like a white dot of some sort that just happens. It might be an optical illusion, but you definitely got some sort of fungal pathogen, I believe, eating away at that section. And what the tree's doing is basically trying to grow around it, and probably some bugs too. The bugs may be secondary though. But you've got all this, we call them pitch tubes, and you see that a lot on pines, sometimes on fruiting trees like peaches and plums and cherries. But essentially what the tree is doing is it's bleeding out to try to block that area and suffocate the beetles. That's why you remember Jurassic Park, those the mosquitoes would be trapped in the amber, right? So that's all sci-fi, of course, but that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to push out all the pests attacking it. So I think the pitch tubes there that you're seeing is beetle activity. I don't think it was caused by the city. It looks like they pruned. I'm scared to ask the property owner to call an arborist, as they're not concerned about the garden or this magnificent tree. Yeah, I've had landlords. I hear that. And I don't know whether there's an old quote that I really liked. That somebody said, wisdom is planting a tree that you'll never enjoy the fruits of. I don't know what your finances are like or how you're doing in life or whatever, but that might be worth it. Just pay a guy. You can pay us to do a digital arborist consultation. Maybe we can pinpoint what's going on. What I'd like to do is have you sound the wood, or have a professional sound the wood and see how hollow it is. But you've got power lines, so that's a big consideration. I agree. That is a magnificent tree. So if you can spend $100, get a good diagnosis on what's going on, and start getting it course corrected and in the right direction. Oh, what a cool tree. There's some simple things you can do, or you can pay somebody kind of a minimal amount to get that done. Obviously, it's not your house, not your tree. So it stinks. But, if you can do the right thing and take care of it, that'd be super cool. All right, moving on. Ooh, gnarly. Bud gall mite infestation. Okay, in poplar trees, what can I do? Cutting the infected branches off is not an option because of the magnitude of infestation. I see that. Holy smokes. Sorry you're dealing with that, Cody. That's terrible. And Cody is in Victor, Idaho. Okay, so ASCA or Arbor Jets. Does anyone used implant insecticides? Yes, those are called trunk injections. I have used that way more than I'd like to admit. ASCA is a really good miticide. That's acephate. Arbor Jet. Here's the thing I don't like about Arbor Jet is Arbor Jet, you wind up having to drill holes 2 3/4 inches into the trunk. Well, here's the problem with that. The way trees work is as they're growing and expanding in diameter, they're building these walls. We call it codit, compartmentalization of decay in trees, CODIT, or if you're looking at me, CODIT. I don't know which way is right and left on the screen, but codit, essentially what they're doing is they're walling off things. And so any type of fungus that gets in there, it can decay the inside of a tree. You can have a tree completely hollow, and as long as you've got enough woody tissue on the outside to strengthen it and keep it up in the air, it's going to be fine. Think of a pipe in the oil field. Pipes are extremely strong structures. And in fact, some of the helmets that we use have that honeycomb type where you've got pipe after pipe after pipe laid right next to each other. And that is a super, super strong structure. Trees are the same way. As that outer 1 to 2 layers is really the most critical. And then you've got a few layers in, depending on the size of the tree, that you want to make sure are good. Well, when you drill into that, you're now bypassing all of those walls, all those barriers. Now fungal pathogens get internal. You just spread it everywhere, and it's just not good. So I love Arbor Jet. I wish I wasn't talking smack about their product right now because they really are a great company, and I love the people there. But I have recently switched to a product called Wedgel Direct Inject, and it's by, what is that? Arbor Systems is the company. And if you can find an arborist that knows about this, it's actually far better because instead of drilling into the tree, you're pulling a little tiny plug that gets right into the vascular tissue of the tree, going right through the bark. You don't bypass that, and then it just injects it right there. Very much minimally invasive and way less invasive than the Arbor Jet and the Ace Cap. Ace Cap, by the way, those are removable plugs. You drill a hole, pop the plug in, pop the cap to depressurize, and push that chemical into the trunk. The tree takes it out. When it's done, you pull the plugs, and now you got an open wound forever. So that's not good. Not a fan of those, although back in the day, that's what we had to work with, and it gets the job done. So yeah, you definitely got to get something there. If you can get a hold of the stuff yourself, yeah, maybe the Ace Jet is good enough, but I think that's a poplar tree, maybe. Yeah, poplar trees. Yeah, you can do that. Additionally, you can get a product called Pintra Bark. Let me look it up. Tree stuff. And Pintra Bark is a non-ionic surfactant. And what that means is it essentially is going to it's going to open up the stomates in the cell walls. And here it is. So this is I'm going to drop a link for you here. Pintra Bark penetrating surfactant. If you can get the same chemical, or preferably, what do we say, Idaho? Yeah, if you can find somebody who's got their Idaho pest control license to purchase the acephate, that's a really great miticide. Mites are kind of a pain, and they don't respond very well, but some treatment is better than none. So if you can get that acephate and use Pintra Bark to go with it, then I think that's going to be a really good bet. This is the stuff. Treestuff.com carries it. You can find it on Amazon, I think, too. And if nothing else, use some Dawn soap. That'll help to spread it evenly as well. And if there's any of the crawlers out there moving around the plant on the outside, not internal, then that'll suffocate them too. Dawn soap, you'd be shocked how many pests you can kill with Dawn freaking soap. Isn't that crazy? And speaking of Dawn, here's some Dawn redwoods. That's ironic. So to the best of my knowledge, these are Dawn redwoods in a municipal setting. Can someone please explain why the branches of the tree in the second pictures are curving upward? The first picture is a Dawn redwood of the same age planted 30 feet away, looking how I would expect it should. And I agree. That's what a Dawn redwood looks like on the left here, this picture. This, is a hormone problem. This is, we call it competing apical dominance. So all of these branches on the bottom are essentially, they're trying to become that primary dominant lead. Well, this is a really big problem for the tree because fast forward, now you've got a weaker structure. Again, we talked about earlier that a pyramid or a cone shape is going to be essentially like your best structural shape. And so and that's why trees are shaped that way, by the way. Not all of them. You get like live oaks get real widespreading, and I mean, trees are cool. They grow. And so you get all sorts of different trees. But on a Dawn redwood, it's definitely, those conifers are going to want to grow upward and in a cone shape. So the fact that it is doing that tells me there's something restricting, we call it the turgor pressure, which think of it like the tree's ability to pull those nutrients up. So I would imagine there's probably something blocking it here at the roots, or quite frankly, it could just be because it's in an urban environment. Now, one thing I'll notice on this one, on the one that has the proper growth, it's not touching the grates on the edge there, the big metal plates that cover it. So I think this one is being constricted by that. We talked about girdling roots earlier. So that compression against the trunk could absolutely cause the tree to want to divert energy into those lower branches where it's easier to get to. But ultimately, you've got a tree that's in an urban environment with nothing but concrete and brick around it. It's only a matter of time, y'all. The one saving grace is because maybe, I don't know, this asphalt is blocking everything. That concrete looks like it's blocking everything. What they might have done, if they're smart city planners, which they're usually not in my experience, they might have put in what's called a structural soil. So think of a box with a tree growing in it with plenty of soil for the roots to grow in. And I've seen this done in Fort Worth on Magnolia Street. They basically, the whole street was redone, and they did 100% of it. That sidewalk that you're walking on as you walk downtown Fort Worth is essentially on a floating platform. Everything underneath there is soil that is specifically designed to be a perfect growing spot for roots. So those trees in Fort Worth are going to get big one day, and they're actually going to be able to make it for a long time. Eventually, every tree has to come down, but you'll get so much better planting. So if they did that on top of the paver stone, you might be okay. But otherwise, I don't have good hope for these trees. Those Dawn redwoods get really big, really fast, and I think they're going to be short-lived there. So hope that helps. All right. Sarah says, ooh, we're getting to yesterday's comments. We're getting through it. We're getting through another half an hour. I think we'll be done. Thank y'all for sticking with me. Those that could and those that can't, we're going to be linking whenever we talk about your trees. Lucas is over there. He's crushing it. I'm seeing the comments and saying exactly when we start talking about it. So we're moving on to Sarah Grove. Sarah says, we had some serious wind and I wanted to know if my pine can be saved. It's basically lying on its side. I'm hoping to save it. Well, you got a couple things going on here, Sarah. You've got a tree that was buried too deep, and you've got a watering and irrigation system that looks like a drip irrigation system that is forcing water right where the trunk is. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, but it looks, and you got rocks all around it. Y'all stop putting rocks. It's not mulch. Depending on where you are, you might not have an option, but if you can put mulch down, that's way better. Almost always. Okay, so essentially what's going on here, the wind blew, obviously. That caused some damage, but I think that water being right next to the trunk probably exacerbated the weakness of the root system. It was planted too deep, and you can see like this little bulge right there. Well, that tells me there was probably a girdling root of some sort, or that it was just covered with dirt and that blocked it. So and millions of rocks. Oh man, those rocks. Yeah, I think of like if you were to go to sleep in a bed full of rocks, would that be comfortable? Like, trees don't like it either. They want that nice cushy mulch and compost and organic matter. And it's like stepping on Legos. Like, that's no fun. I step on. My son has these little magnet blocks, and they've got like the sharpest edges on them. And man, they make Legos look like amateurs, y'all. So a couple options here, Sarah. You can either upright it. You're going to have to stake it in place. This is the one exception to that rule we were talking about earlier. But, I'm wondering if that's going to be a good idea, because you may have had some serious root loss there. So I'll give you three options. One, cut it down. Two, cut it down, replant, and make sure they don't bury it so deep this time. Make sure they dig that hole 2 to 3 times the diameter of the planting container that it comes in. And third option is what did I say? Cut it down. Second is This is how tired I'm getting, y'all. Thanks for sticking around with me. So first option, cut it down. Second option, try to replant it. I don't think that's a great option, honestly, because you got some significant root loss. Those roots broke, I believe. If you notice on the backside, it did not lift up. And so that tells me that those roots actually broke and the tree just fell over and it didn't pry that up. Y'all remember back in 6th grade physics, learned about fulcrums. So whenever you see a tree fall over, typically you get a big root flare in the air, and that's typically where the damage is done. So, yeah, I don't see a good shot for it, but you know what you can do, and this might be what I would do, honestly, if I had a little extra land and I wanted to get crafty and kind of experiment and have a little fun, I might let it grow like that. And you want to remove a lot of that dirt on the backside. Have a really good local arborist come in. Or if you want, we can get on a Zoom chat and I can guide you through it myself. And Lucas, if you don't mind dropping a link there, that would help. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's got a low chance of survival, but it does seem to be healthy before it fell over. So it might have the resources. If you can get the roots to grow here in the next year or two, then, by the way, roots typically grow on average about 18 inches per year. So you got a pretty good shot, I think. If it's a young tree, it's not a very old tree. But you definitely got to amend that root system a little bit, get rid of some of that soil and that drip irrigation. Drip irrigation is awesome, except when you leave it on there for too long. And then you can, what it does is it traps moisture. You're putting the water right where the structural roots are, and you want it where the absorbing roots are, way out towards the edge of the canopy. And so I see that all the time. They keep watering, and then the big storm comes and the tree falls. But give it a shot, I'd say, if you want. You can have a little fun with that one. Where you at? It's not gonna tell me where she's at. Reno, Nevada. Okay, so you are kind of deserty type area. And so, yeah, try to get rid of the rocks. If you can get some good organic compost, that would be way, way, way better. All right. So, man, I'm not even gonna. What's it? Why do they call you meat? Why do they call you meat? All right. Why do they call you meat? I didn't know you could do that. Change your pronunciation. That's amazing. Okay. So he's asking, you got a magnolia tree. That looks like a bay magnolia to me. By the way, those are not all magnolias are southern magnolias. Oh, okay. So that's a Porky's Revenge show. Okay. I'm just, oh man, I'm not nerdy enough, I guess. That's so funny. I haven't seen that movie since I was like 12 or 14 years old. That's hilarious. Yeah. Okay. So first time poster, we have a magnolia tree, which has grown very wide and now has hanging branches. From what I've read, the best time to prune is late spring after bloom. I want to take care of the lower branches or at least trim them back, but looking for the safest way to do so. As the main branch do so as the main branches go all the way back to the trunk, and I don't want to just cut in the middle. Any advice for the best approach? Sorry if the pics are not great. The lowest branches are almost on the ground. Man, magnolias are such cool trees. We got a lot of southern magnolias where I grew up in Dallas and here in Houston as well. They're all over the South. But, oh, man, I got to say, why do they call me meat? Why do they call me meat? That's hilarious. I think you should let them grow. I think you should develop that into just this beautiful sweeping. I know you're going to lose some grass, but it looks like you've got room to do so. But man, those magnolias love those low sweeping branches. We used to train them to grow into the ground and then back out again. Several different clients of mine, several different municipalities. There are such cool trees, those big magnolias. Look how beautiful that is, you guys. The big issue with them that I see around here, at least, is going to be iron and manganese chlorosis, that yellowing discoloration. But those are new leaves, and so you may be okay. And I know Kristen Hammond. Kristen is I haven't met Kristen in person, but I hear she's a really good arborist, and she's a competition arborist too, if I remember correctly. So shout out to you, Kristen. Thanks for joining me on here. It says low branches are actually really good for the tree stability, but you could take some small reduction cuts. Oh man, it's like you're in my head. Okay, absolutely. About the size of a pencil to reduce the weight and slow down the apical growth. This is a good arborist right here, y'all. If you get a chance to work with her, she'd be a good arborist for you. Maple growth is the primary end growing point. You can cut this off back to a lateral side branch that is at least half the size of what you are removing. Yes, that is solid advice. Bingo. You got it, Kristen. Thank you. Thank you. Is the time to do it now? Blooms are more or less gone. This is an old pick, but the leaves are pretty well established. It'll be okay. Shouldn't cause any harm. Keep in mind, tree would be healthiest, happiest with the low branches eventually resting on the ground as it gets older. Told you. I gave examples of the cuts I would make on the last picture where I could see the branch structure the closest. Trees are good. Yes, treesaregood.org is a great resource. And I'm trying to find, where is your picture? I hate the way Facebook does things now. It's like they're trying to mind control us or something. I don't see your pictures, Kristen. I'm sorry. I wish they were here. But oh well, I would say yes, Dr. Ed Gilman. Y'all, let me get a book real quick. Well, the creepy neighbors can see one. Hold on. They're actually really close, my neighbors. Dr. Edward Gilman he's like the go-to guy when it comes to all things pruning. Brilliant guy out of University of Florida. This is an illustrated guide to pruning. And this has everything you could ever want to know as like the top arborist on the planet is right here in this book. It's like $120, $180 book. Well worth it if you do any sort of consulting or arboricultural work. I would almost say this is a requirement. You got to get this book because, man, it says so many good things. So let me see if I can find some reduction cuts. Nope. We'll go to the index. Index, reduction, pruning. 185 and 287. Ooh, 80, 81. Okay. I hate this. I lent this book out to somebody and it smells like fabric softener now. Okay, so this is what you are looking at. I don't know if you can see that. That top picture right there, that is called a reduction cut. And this is the way to do it. They call me meat. Why do they call me meat? That is the way to do it. So what she's talking about is, see that branch on this illustration, obviously it's not a real life example, is about half the diameter of the branch that you're cutting it back to right here. And that is really important because hormonally, this is going to become the new lead. And so it needs to have enough carbohydrates, enough hormones, and enough leaf, at least potential, to be able to push out that new growth and reform this as the new dominant lead. So what she's talking about, and I found often on trees you haven't pruned, you can go like half of the branch diameter. But on newly planted trees, it's actually really important to keep those lower limbs. Kristen is absolutely right. It's so good for them to have those limbs. And I agree. If you can keep those and let that just grow into this beautiful sweeping magnolia, man, you would have like the pride of the neighborhood on that one, I think. Yes, and phenomenal advice. Thank you for commenting, Kristen. That's awesome. So moving on. Okay, Natalie Wells says, help, can these be saved? So that she's in Pennsylvania, in Salem. Can these be saved? We just planted them last year. They were watered regularly until cold winter months. I fertilized them 2 weeks ago. Today, I pruned as much of the dead parts as I could and plan to start watering regularly again. I live in Pennsylvania. We had a very rainy April and May. Ooh, I would be willing to bet. What's that? Yeah, I would stop watering. Yeah, he's been paying attention. Luke has been paying attention. You're probably getting too much water, Natalie. I hate to say that, but I see it so many times. It's like, you don't know trees. That's my job. So you see your tree, it's struggling. You're like, oh my goodness, I got to help it. So you go and water it more, and you just drove the nail into the coffin. And so what you've got, to me, this looks like classic abiotic. Too much, not enough air in the soil. And so let me go ahead and get that video again. I'm just going to be posting this video like everywhere, y'all. So that, I posted that on the picture. Let me do it on the main section here. Okay, so you've got, it looks like a Eastern red cedar. It could be an arborvitae. I can't really tell. I get those two mixed up so often. Some sort of cedar or thuja, one of the two. Thuja occidentalis, that's the arborvitae. Or however you pronounce it. I don't even know, y'all. Is this multiple trees? Okay, yeah, it's multiple cedars or arborvitae. So yes, to me, it looks like they're getting too much water. Try to that radial trenching, try to just get some oxygen to it. Also check down at the base to see, I don't know if you planted it or if somebody you hired planted it. But I think what you're probably going to find is that they're just like a bean pole going in the ground, like a foam pole. And so you definitely got to get those root flares exposed because that's going to be part of how it breathes, but you got to get the water out of them. Fertilization, you want to absolutely hold off on all fertilization right now. Fertilization on stressed trees will just kill it overnight. The chemical fertilizer, y'all, is this is why I'm not a fan of it. Is chemical fertilizers are essentially salts. They're going to draw moisture out of the plant, and so if you've got a tree that is not out of the soil, out of the plant. And so if you've got a tree that's waterlogged, it's already got an anaerobic condition. Now you take that flooded tree and you draw all the moisture out of the leaves and out of the trunk tissue and all that. And it's just not good for it. So that's why I prefer the organic route. Sometimes you can't kill cancer with molasses, guys. Sometimes we got to come in with fungicides and pesticides and herbicides and things like that. But for the most part, if you can keep the tree healthy to begin with, you're not going to need any of that. So stay away from the fertilizers. Hit it with some molasses on the upper canopy and surrounding in the soil. And if you've got a clay soil, I would say use some calcium or some lime. Let me give you another resource here. Uh-oh, I didn't mean to do that. I just messed everything up, Lucas. That's on me. Messed it all up. Oh my goodness, look at that ugly person. All right, am I still in order? Okay, here we go. What's up, Natalie? Okay, so yeah. Maybe one or two more. We're getting like at the 2-hour mark, y'all. I'm fading fast. This is getting crazy. Oh, they did. That's okay. We'll have good content we can use. What was I doing? These guys, soil testing. Soilworks LLC, friends of mine. They are incredible. They've got some really good product. Let me see. Growing calcium, GSR. So I'm going to link you this, Natalie. If you've got a clay soil, use this and mix it with a little bit of sugar. You want very, 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 very little. So when you buy that, it's going to cost you $80 and you're going to have like a 25-year supply of it. So feel free to pass it out to your neighbors, but that's the best source of calcium that I know of. You can also use lime, but I don't think you have time for that. I think lime is going to take too long for the microbes to break it down. It's going to take up to 2 years for it to really break down and bind to the clay. We call it chemical flocculation, and essentially it's like crystallizing the space and creating all this little pore space in between all the clay particles. But if you've got, go ahead and mix that with molasses and a little table sugar, and then throw in some humic acid in there as well. If you've got a sandy soil, don't worry about the calcium. Just do the humic acid and clay and the molasses. See, that's where I'm at, you guys. Hope that helps. Sorry that's happening. That just stinks. You get all these brand newly planted trees, and then they're just already struggling so much. All right, neighbor has an elm tree about 18 inches diameter, maybe 20 foot tall, limbs extend approximately 12 feet. I'm trying to make a paver walkway in my parkway, and I found a surface root about 16 feet away from the trunk, about 2 inches in diameter. Would be okay to cut and not harm the tree. Being that far away, 16, what do you say, 16 feet away from the trunk, 2 inches in diameter, 18-inch tree, you're probably okay, but I'm also going to agree with Kristen Cinnamon here. This root pruning should be done by a professional to ensure it doesn't harm the tree by removing too much foreign material. I think you're probably okay being that far away from the trunk, but I think Kristen's right. It'd be best to get an arborist in there and just make that surgical pruning wound correctly. Ooh, here's a southern magnolia. We talked about bay magnolias early. Now we got southern magnolias. My southern magnolia is losing so many leaves this spring. Is this normal? It's only our second spring in the house. We had to have a new water line dug not far from these trees last year, and I'm concerned that they had cut through too many of its roots and it may be dying. That's very possible. But, ew, let me see. Where you at, Casey? I studied some things at Roanoke College. I don't know where that is. This looks like, I don't know where you're at, but that is a beautiful property you got. Let me see if I can zoom in on this a little. That, to me, does not look so much like root damage. This looks like you got a bunch of stressors going on. Let's zoom down here. Root flares seem okay, although on this side... Oh, y'all can't see what I'm seeing. Hold on. Let me change this. Okay, so I'm just taking a little closer look here, y'all. I forgot to hit that other button. So you see here, you've got kind of one side here. It looks like there's some damage on that. What's that? All right, I got this. I'm a strong, independent hombre. Okay, so yeah, leaves being lost. Let's see. What did she say? So it's only our second spring in the house. We had to have a new water line dug not far from the tree last year. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that water line probably is on the I would hope it's on the street side, on the driveway side, but it could be on the back side here. If it's on the back side, that may be starting that decay you're seeing. Sorry, here, so y'all can see it too. So if it's on if the water line was dug on the back side, then that's probably what started some of this discoloration and decay you're seeing. But you got kind of similar situation going on here. So that water line could be anywhere. It's not, I don't know how far away it was. I don't know a lot of details about this, but I think you've got a more broad scale problem. I think this is bigger than just a water line. Typically when you dig a water line and it's going to cause damage on one side. So you'll see one side will go just not look good. And then the other side is maybe going to look okay. And but that's not the case here. I see like a holistic, the leaves are drooping. To me, that looks almost more like a soil fungus, soil pathogen, like a Phytophthora or a Fusarium, something like that. But I'm not sure, to be honest. I'd have to take a closer look at that. Lucas, if you don't mind dropping a Zoom chat in there, link for her, that would be awesome. All right, we'll maybe do a couple more. Let's close it out right at 9:30. So we got. Ooh, that's fun. I see a Japanese maple there. I want to address that one because those are awesome trees. So Danielle Washington Gagnon, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Studied at Liberty University. I don't know where you're at. But does anyone know if a cherry tree will do all right on wet ground? During rain season, it floods my property, but the soil seems to be rich and well draining. Did I kill this tree putting it here? No, not yet. Anyways, so here's the rule with drainage is cherries don't like wet feet. Most trees don't like wet feet. Bald cypress loves wet feet. So you want to put a really great tree in that area that'll help absorb a lot of the moisture that's causing the problem. Plant a bald cypress right next to it. Sycamores do okay. What else? I don't know. There's a handful of trees that do really well. Banyan trees, but that's not going to grow probably if you're in the United States here, unless you're in Florida. That does not look like Florida to me. To me, that looks like, I don't know, Kentucky, Tennessee. I don't know. Gorgeous area, nice trees. So cherry will do all right. They don't like a wet feet, but they can tolerate it. So what you don't want is it to constantly be wet. So you want it to dry out eventually. Again, I'll reference you back to the radial trenching, and then I'm going to do a video here pretty soon on vertical mulching. And that'll help to add organic matter. But one thing I might do is just continue to add compost year after year after year and throw that compost on there. Oops. There we go. And just a thin layer, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch is all it takes. And the That's all it takes. But what that's going to do is it's going to sift down there and add organic matter. Every bit of carbon that you put in the soil, carbon, by the way, is organic matter, is that's going to help retain moisture. And also it's going to help prevent pathogens. So the more carbon you put in the ground, the better off you're going to be and the better drainage it's going to be. But look into that radial trenching and see if maybe that can help as well. That's going to pull the moisture away from that planting site and prevent that teacup effect where the water pools in the root system and just completely drowns it out. Oops. I haven't finished my comment. Here we go. No, I'm good. Oh, that's cool. Ooh, what are those? No, that's normal. That's part of the leaf. Yeah, haven't killed it yet, but I would definitely do that radial trenching and try to pull as much water away from there. Ooh, and you got to expose those root flares, Daniel. That's going to be critical. You got to get rid of those, that soil up against the trunk. Looks like you planted it a little bit too deep, so that radial trenching is going to be critical. And we'll get to the last one here. Yeah, actually, I'll do that one too because that's a quick one. All right, so Kristen asks, Christine, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Any suggestion on what exactly is killing the shrub and how to treat it? Well, I got good news and bad news for you. The good news is that's not a shrub. That is a gorgeous Crimson Queen, I believe, Japanese maple. The bad news is it's getting burned up by the sun, I think. I think that is we call it sun scald, kind of like sunburn for trees. And Japanese maples, red maples, they all have really, really, really thin bark. And when you got thin bark, it's kind of like, you got really pale skin and you go sit in the sun all day, you're not going to do well. And so typically these Crimson Queens and most of the Japanese maples are going to do much better under canopy, especially here in the South where we are. Man, they just get burned up so quick. There's a couple of hybrids that they've come up with, like Bloodgood Japanese maple seems to do better and tolerate the sun a little more. But if you get one limb, even on those Bloodgoods that are designed to be in the sun down here, if you get one limb die and now all those leaves that were providing shade for the skin of the tree, the bark, is gone, all of a sudden you've changed the dynamics and it can get sunburned really, really easily. So it's a beautiful tree. I think that's worth shading out and see if you can put a canopy cover on it while you get something else to grow over it, and see if you can do that. But unfortunately, if you don't stop that sun from burning it up, I think that tree's a goner. Another option, if this were winter, I would say let's go ahead and transplant it because that's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful tree. And shoot, a tree like that can easily be valued at $10,000, $20,000 on an appraisal. Very easily. That is a mature-ish tree, depending on where you're at. Hope that helps. And what are these dangling from my oak tree? I don't recall having them in past years. Thanks for the question here, Scott. Iowa State University, it looks like maybe. That's where he's. Oh, Des Moines. Okay, so you're in Des Moines. Yep, Kristen's right. Those are oak flowers. That's all it is. That's just that's their fruit parts. That's what their flowers look like, or not their fruit. That's the female parts of the reproductive parts of the tree. The acorns here are growing in right next to it. That's the male part. So those are just flowers. That's all it is. By the way, if you got oak allergies, those are a nightmare, and you get that yellow rain that comes down right about this time and covers all of our cars. Yo, we got to the end here, guys. I think I got one, two. Lucas, you down? You want to handle these last two? Because that'd be 100%. Let's do it. All right. Tracy from Northern Maryland. We have a few established crepe myrtle trees that look like they're half dead. We had a fairly harsh winter this year compared to the past years. I'm not sure if it damaged them to no repair. Will they bounce back? Is it safe to wrap them somehow during cold snaps next winter? We have 5 others that don't seem to have been affected and are still beautiful. Pictures are of one of the 2. Okay, so this is the same tree we're looking at. So you got a little bit of discoloration that tells me there's a nutrient and hormone deficiency there. But yeah, that cold absolutely can cause that. What I like to do, and you're up north, you guys use heater tape on the regular. In fact, sometimes they'll build a house with it wrapped around the pipes just so it's ready to rock and roll. But then sometimes you can drape it over the roofs too. So when you get all that heavy snow loading, it's not going to destroy your house and crush your family. And so the heater tape, it looks like electrical wire. except it generates heat. It's got a heating element that runs through it. So what you can do, it's a lot easier to work with than the old school incandescent bulbs. Wrap it all the way around and then cover it with a blanket. That's the part people miss. They put the blanket on top of it, but then they have like 4 or 5 days of below freezing, and it kills them. But I'm wondering too, it looks like you got some parsley here and you got a healthy looking garden, which usually means there's a lot of water. No, that's not parsley. I don't know what that is, but I would imagine you've probably got a drainage issue as well. I see no root flares on this here at the bottom. And so I'm going to say you probably have a drainage issue. Try that radial trenching as well. Hit it with some humic acid and molasses and seaweed extract, and say your prayers a little bit. And there's one that Microlife carries called Maximum Blooms too. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Nope, I can't find it. Anyways, I'll get that to you later. But yeah, Maximum Blooms is great for flowering plants like that. Right now, you don't want to focus on flowers. You want to focus on getting more leaves on the tree. That humic acid and molasses is going to be really important for that. Seaweed extract is going to help with the root system and develop more bigger, bolder roots and make it more able to pull nutrients out of the ground. But I would say maybe check your irrigation schedule as well. The soil, to me, I don't know why, it just looks like it's getting flooded and stays wet on the regular. I could be wrong on that though. However, right before the next freeze, right like a day or two before, if you can catch it early enough, give it a good deep watering with a soaker hose, and that tree is actually going to start producing glycol-like product, essentially glycol. So think of like propylene glycol is antifreeze. Glycol is nature's version. And so that will increase the tree's ability. It basically just lowers the freezing point of on a cellular level. So check the trunk too to see if you've got any frost cracking, and they'll typically be like in a vertical pattern opening up like that. And you might want to prune some of the dead tissue out. Just do the little scratch test, check it to make sure it's dead, and cut it back to green tissue. Hope that helps, Tracy. And last one came in like what, an hour before we started. This is from, that was from GK Tremmel. Thanks for reaching out. GK asks, what would cause my oak tree to get these bare branches on one side of the tree? See, I can't even pronounce tree. That's what I do as trees, y'all. I can't even. That's how tired I am. Is there something I can do? Well, I'm not. I want to see the base of the tree, but I can't. It looks like it's cut off here. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to see it. Let's see. Open image, a new tab. No, it's not going to let me see the view. Typically what that is there's something obstructing the vascular tissue of that tree. It could be in the roots. It could be some sort of fungal issue on the side. But if you think again of a pipe and you've got millions of little straws that go all the way up to a leaf and all the way down to a root, and that pipe full of straws is essentially transportation. That's kind of like our vascular tissue. That's the tree's vascular tissue. I will say this, you got a lot of issues going on with this tree, even more than it seems, I think. And I would leave all pruning off the table for the next few years until you can get that corrected. You want to pull a soil sample, and let me link that to you here. You want to pull. Hey, that's a pretty good theory. I like that theory. That's very, very possible. Let me see. Well, I will say this is it doesn't look like the fence has been cleaned. I see like some moss and stuff growing on it. But that's a really good point. You'll get pressure washer guys. No, they're not tree guys. They don't know what they're doing. So you'll get them come in, clean the sidewalk, clean the fence. Everything's looking great. And then the tree dies. They're like, I don't know what happened. My tree just died. It's like, no, you got poisoning. So that is very, very common. And especially in northern areas, you'll get like salts running off from the roads. That can do a lot of damage to a tree's root system. This is actually on the opposite side. So I'm kind of wondering, does that play a role in that? And maybe GK, you can give me a little insight on the history there. If you've had some guys in there that are like bleaching the fence. I do see a little bit of moss and algae growing on it, mold and algae growing on it. So maybe not, but I don't know. But there's definitely something going on to restrict the tree's ability. And yeah, I agree. That kind of looks like herbicide type damage on that one side, which would, if that's the case, that would cause that yellow discoloration all around. It absolutely would mess up the nutrient availability, mess up the hormones in the tree, and the tree's not going to be able to produce the chlorophyll it needs to make the leaves green. Green leaves are very important. And of course, some trees, some plants have yellow leaves naturally. Some of them have purple leaves. Those are all pigmentation. Just like how there's us humans have different pigments, melanin primarily, but we have carotenoids and other pigments. Sorry, multitasking. I'm not good at that. Other pigments, trees do too, and so those are going to cause that yellowing. What's happening is the tree's not able to produce the chlorophyll, and therefore you're seeing those carotenoids, which are the yellow and oranges that you see in spring or in fall, rather. Not here, not in Houston. We don't have fall colors. We just have brown. But that's definitely what you're seeing there. I think you might be onto something there, Banana Pharma. I think that may be some sort of herbicide or phytotoxicity going on there, because that is, you got a lot of symptoms that point to herbicide damage. So look into that. If you've done any weed and feed in the past, maybe reach out and give me a little history of what's going on there, and we'll get that down to a fine science. So. And that concludes episode number 2 of Ask an Arborist live stream Q&A. Guys, I really thank y'all for being here. This has been an absolute blast for me. Like I said, I love this kind of like, go, rapid fire. You got very little resources, and I got to answer it anyways. Like I said, I used to do radio, and we just started that back up. And I love it because I got 30, 40 seconds to answer the question, and not enough details to answer the question. So we got to kind of infer and assume some things. But hopefully that answered y'all questions. Keep on bringing them to us. We're going to do this at least once a week and make sure we get all your questions, or at least a good portion of them, answered, so we can get your trees back on the right track. And of course, if you need a closer in-depth look, we do offer digital arborist consultations. Again, I'm a board certified master arborist and a registered consulting arborist. And I got a bunch of other guys all over the country that know the trees closer to you. And so we're trying to build that network and really get people all over the US and all over Canada, and ultimately all over the globe. Because here's the thing: you go to the doctor, yes, that's a great thing, but sometimes you can just get on the phone with a telemedicine doctor and they can give you just as good information. So that's what we're going for here. Except with us, you're not getting the nurse practitioner going and trying to give you answers. You're getting the actual doctors, the actual arborists, tree doctors, giving you the answers. So we wanted to set this up as a way for people just like you to get the right answers and get them going in the right direction, because we love our trees, we live under them, and y'all have no idea how much us humans need trees. So if it's good for trees, it's good for people, and I love people. What's up, Lucas? Oh, right on. What's up, buddy? From way across the other side of the world. Man, thanks for joining. That's so cool. You know what? I love this industry because you get guys from all over the world, and it's like it's like a big culture. I don't know. It's like a big family. I call them my Arbros, or my tree nut family. So, there's some bad jokes in there, I'm sure, but y'all follow the page or follow this group. Feel free to hit us up on our page, Ask Arborist On Demand. And of course, our YouTube channel. We're really trying to grow this and get the word out there. I'm actually working on a book to codify a lot of this information that's in my head, bring it to you guys for $40 or $50 and have a really great resource that you can just know everything. It's kind of like without violating copyright issues here, it's kind of designed to be like tree care for dummies, a complete idiot's guide to owning a tree. And so that's kind of what we're going for. It goes over everything from planting a brand new tree to growing a fruit crop to caring for your mature live oak or whatever, right down to like, how do you deal with insurance? How do you deal with property disputes with neighbors? How do you deal with construction? We all have to mend our houses. We have constructions, driveways being poured, fences being pressure washed, then dendrophile in love with trees. Yeah, I like trees. You know, I'll show you. Let me see if I can find it. The first tree I ever climbed was my grandmother's backyard red oak. And I just love that tree. And I got a picture from when I was 3 years old in that tree. We actually kept like 1,000 of the acorns. And here, let me move this over. Oops. 1 second, y'all. Uh-oh, wrong one. That's funny. Sorry. Yeah, here we go. All right. That's my sorry self as a 3-year-old punk kid climbing a tree. I just never grew up. I just got better at it. That's all. So I love trees, but more than that, I love people. And trees, like I said, are great for people. There's just a little history of what I've done. What do y'all think? That's pretty fun, right? Tree ninja. Ooh, here's a fun one. Check this out. I used to compete climbing trees too. And it was run of it. But you know, we had a good run of it, and I spent a lot of time climbing trees and learning this stuff, and I just love passing it along to you guys. So thanks so much again for joining me. It's been real. And let's see. I don't know how to fix this. Well, you're just going to have to see my tiny face down in the corner there. So bye. If you need help with your trees, it's arboristondemand.org or .com, and we're happy to take a look at them. We try to make it very cost effective and give you just like top-notch, world-class information about your trees and really help you get pointed in the right direction. And if we can't point you in the right direction, we can at least guide you on getting the right answers you need, maybe hooking you up with a local person. But hope that helps. Love you guys. Thanks for being with me, and we'll see you next time.